back, everybody. It's a San Diego foundation that works to address the most pressing issues in the region. And of those issues, they tend to be natural and man-made disasters. That's where the Regional Disaster Fund comes into play. And here to tell us more about it, the fund is Tracy Jarman. You're the chair of the board, Tracy?
Yes, I am.
And I want a lot of people, a lot of our viewers who probably look familiar to, I want to remind you, everybody, that you were the first female fire chief for San Diego Fire and Rescue.
Yes, I was.
You grew up in Escondido.
I did.
And also, I want to get this right, because you were named Fire Chief of the Year by the California Fire Chiefs Association.
That's true. After the 2007 fires.
To be recognized by your peers must have been quite an honor.
It was.
You mentioned the 2007 fires. You actually directed the fight against those fires, and I wanted to ask you how that experience made you more aware of what's going on with the foundation that you now chair.
Well, I led the fight within the city of San Diego, and we collaborated with the other fire departments. What I realized that the San Diego Foundation had the Disaster Relief Fund. And during the 2007 fires, they collected $10 million to help us respond, recover, and rebuild San Diego. So I found an interest in that and got involved and volunteer with the fund.
So it was $3 million back in 2003, and it was $10 million in 2007. So where does the money come from that goes into the fund?
There's a lot of donors in the heat of the moment, so to speak, that look for a place to donate where the funds will stay local, do the most good for the region, and that's where the Disaster Relief Fund came from. Through the San Diego Foundation, it was set up to give everybody an avenue to donate and make sure it goes back to the survivors, collaborate with the other nonprofits to rebuild our region after the disaster, whether it's an earthquake, a fire, man-made disaster.
Well, when people think about disasters in the aftermath, the first organization that might come to mind would be the American Red Cross. What is the difference between donating to the American Red Cross versus this fund?
The American Red Cross is another place to donate. We work with all the nonprofits. San Diego Foundation wanted to make sure that it stayed local. We do a lot of systematic assessments after the fire to make sure that it goes, in this case a fire, that it goes where it's needed the most, whether it's to help somebody bridge that gap between what the insurance provides and what they need to build their home. A lot of the families actually use their college funds to rebuild their home. So we helped with scholarships. There's a lot of things we did to make sure that we sent it to the best need within the community. Some of it was to go to the responders to replace equipment that was burned up during the fires.
I was going to ask you about that, because once you have that pool of money, a disaster occurs, and in the aftermath, you got to figure out who gets the money, how to divvy it up. Is that a committee, or how does that process work?
There's a board that's set up, and it's a diverse board with lots of different background that sits down, and we do a needs assessment, and then we do depending on the greatest need, and there's a lot of discussion to make sure it goes and maximizes the impact of the donations that we receive.
Well, we are looking at a record rainfall over this past winter, which, as you know, means more vegetation, more fuel for fires to burn.
Yes.
What would you say to our viewers as far as your experience in the fire department and getting ready? As we know, we're coming up to September, October, November, where the fire danger is just really high.
Well, and it's already hot this weekend.
Yeah.
So there's probably three things they should really think about. One is to ensure that you have defensible space, or thin the vegetation around your home. Make sure that there's a place for the firefighters to get in to defend your home. The other thing would be an evacuation plan. We may only have 15, 20 minutes to evacuate, so what do you need to take? What are you going to take with you when you run out the door? And probably probably one of the most critical things is to fire harden your home. It's those softball-sized embers that blow into the attic or catch the wood pile next to the house that are going to be what ultimately burns your house down. Yeah.
And if our viewers are watching right now and we don't want to wait until disaster strikes, what can they do to help with the fund?
With the fund, you can go on SanDiegoFoundation.org/disaster fund, and you can read about it. But what we really want to do is bring it to everybody's attention so they know that the fund's there. Because during the heat of the moment, you don't want to be calling up 911 and where should I donate?
Right, exactly.
So it's good to get the information out now as we approach the hot summer months.
One more time, the website?
It's SanDiegoFoundation.org/disaster fund.
All right, Tracy Jarman, great to see you again.
Great to see you.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Well,